Good morning, or perhaps good afternoon, or even good evening. Doesn't matter as long as you have something delicious in your cup. I have regular coffee today. Are you ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, nice. It's a nice day. It's finally sunny out in Amsterdam today. Blue skies, sun, very nice. We had a week of just gnarly weather. You can probably see the light difference also here, right? It's because much of the light is coming from outside. And yeah, feel good as a result. You know, when it's sunny, you feel good. So I hope you're feeling good too. I'm having a good day. Hope you're having a good day as well. Now, good day also in the race so far. So since the last episode, nobody else hitting any UFOs or any major breakages. So that's good news. We had Sebastian kind of doing something cool. You all remember the mast walk, you know, that really cool video that Alex Thompson did several years back, where he walked up his mast and then leaped off, kind of a nice PR stunt. And Sebastian actually recreated that last night in the middle of the Vendee Globe. Kind of cool, because his anemometer, so his wind meter, basically was not working, and he wasn't sure why, but needed to go up the mast. And of course, climbing the mast rather tricky with the big sea state. So just climbing it straight, you might fly around, can be kind of dangerous. And in order to kind of solve that, they decided to basically put the boat, heel the boat over as flat as possible, and then basically walk on the mainsail close to the mast and just kind of walk up there as a better solution. And it worked. So apparently his wind meter was disconnected, it wasn't broken. So he reconnected it, and all is good again. And now, wait a minute, did you hear what I just said? Sebastian did a mast walk during a Vendee Globe race.
I never took a straight path nowhere. Life's full of twists and turns, bumps and bruises. I live, I learn.
Also, Miranda Marin had an oil leak. So apparently one of the lines with hydraulic oil to her keel somehow got loose, and so her entire bilge full of hydraulic oil. Not the best thing, of course, and no oil in the keel. Took a few hours, but eventually she was able to fix the problem. So minor things, nothing that we wouldn't expect to happen during a Vendee Globe, and all's good that ends well. So no real trouble there, just some good night sailing excitement, I would say. Then on to, of course, the main battle that's going on. Very, very interesting. So we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but Burton versus, of course, Thomas Rouillan, also on Linked Out, and of course Charlie Dalin on board of Apivia. And this is an especially interesting battle between Burton and Charlie Dalin because of Francois Gabart, so the winner of the previous Vendee Globe race, because the boat that he won in is the boat that Burton is now sailing. At the same time, Charlie Dalin actually working for Francois Gabart's company, working with Francois Gabart's company, and so Francois also heavily been involved in the design and kind of the team of Apivia. So very interesting to see that these two boats, basically Francois' previous boat and the team that he's heavily involved with right now, fighting for first and second place right now. So that's kind of cool, right? It's kind of a cool insight into the whole situation. What we're seeing is that Burton has made a brilliant tactical decision, a little over a week ago, when we saw kind of a low pressure developing in the south that was moving west, and most of the fleet was kind of late to jibe or to tack, and he was one of the first to see that it wouldn't be possible to pass over that low system to the west, and that they had to go under. So he was really the first to take the gamble, really, and tack more or less straight south and take what seemed at the moment like a longer route, but brought him much more south than the rest, and as a consequence he's been able to sail much closer to the ice exclusion zone. So that gives him a shorter route because, you know, lower on the planet, so shorter line to sail, and also more wind, which, you know, all translates into some really epic heavy weather sailor, because basically for the last 3 days he's been in really big seas and strong winds. More or less hasn't seen anything under 20 knots, I bet, for the last 3 days. So pretty impressive sailing there, and must be really hard on Lewis also. This is a real, you know, battle for the lead. But now he's in a position where he might just, you know, give Charlie Dalin a bit of a run for his money. Let's check out the chart here. So we have kind of the two yellow boats here in front, Charlie Dalin and Lewis Burton. And as you can see, if we look at Lewis's line, you know, very extremely to the south, basically, you know, all the way from that moment where he was kind of the first, so that would be around, you know, here more or less. So here, yeah, so around here he decided, you know, to make that tack, and then went all the way down, all the way to the south, taking, you know, what looked back then like a longer route, and ending up, because of this extreme southing, in a very favorable position. But now here is the really interesting thing about this situation. So if we look visually, this is why we're nerds, right? We love this stuff. So if we look at the situation, right now, Lewis is 149.3 nautical miles behind Charlie Dalin here. But as you can see, Charlie is also quite a distance more to the north than Lewis. And so the interesting thing is that, as we can see, the ice exclusion zone really diving further to the south here, and so they're both definitely going to do that. They're going to try to make that step. And what's going to happen is that Lewis is basically, also if we look at the wind, so this is the wind right now actually, and so if we look at the direction of the wind, we see that Lewis has basically a straight line forward where he'll be more or less perfectly downwind sailing, so perfect conditions for his boat, which is the previous generation boat from the last time, but with completely new foils. So yeah, this is like a very fast boat. Then we have a PVA, Charlie, up here, who right now still in a perfect situation, so also still, you know, nicely downwind sailing at a good angle. But as Charlie is going to want to move down, his angle to the wind is going to become considerably less favorable, at least for a while. He's going to go on more or less a beam reach. No real beating, but in order to get down from his more northerly position, he's going to have to go on a slightly more disadvantageous angle a lot earlier than Lewis. It looks like, you know, if we follow the wind here, so let's project and follow what happens here for like a day ahead. And we see that it more or less stays the same as far as direction goes. So this would be midnight tonight, and then as it progresses, we go into tomorrow, Saturday, you know, pretty much the same thing. But let's take tomorrow here, so let's take Saturday. This is 3 o'clock at night. This will be more or less the situation, you know, where both of them will have reached kind of this bend, right? And the thing that's going to happen is that Lewis will just have a shorter way, but he'll also have a better angle, because really at no point along this track will he have to go on, you know, a beam reach or anything close to it. He'll be basically choosing the perfect angle for his boat, while Charlie, if he wants to get lower, is going to have to do a little bit of a beam reaching, which will definitely hamper his speed a little bit. And I think when we look at the difference here, so Charlie is probably about 90 miles or so north of Lewis. So in a way, Lewis already has 90 miles on him, because like Charlie will have to get those miles towards the south to get to the line where Lewis is sailing, right? So Lewis is more or less gaining those 90 miles already because he did that earlier in the race, that space. So that leaves only about 40 maybe 50 nautical miles left between the two of them when we kind of deduct that. Then take the slightly more advantageous position of Lewis, because he will have a little bit more wind. He's a little closer to the center of that system, a little bit more wind and a slightly better angle. And then is that going to translate to a 50 nautical mile advantage? Is he going to be able to close a 50 nautical mile gap? Well, the boats for the most part are traveling now at, let's say 18 to 23, 24 knots, but like have an average of like 19 knots that they're doing, every hour. So 2-3 hours would basically give him enough, right? 2-3 hours if Charlie wasn't really doing anything. But if we spread that over a day, he really only needs to gain, something like 3-4 miles every hour to get there. And I think that the chances are very likely that he's going to more or less end right side by side with Charlie as they go into this bend. So it's going to be a real duel, in the sense that I think in 24 hours the chances are very big that they are going to end up more or less in the same position, maybe in visual distance of each other. So we'll actually, develop into something that we saw during the ocean race also a lot, where we have boats just racing so close together that every tack becomes, a tack for tack becomes a battle, and that will, I think, also make the race maybe even more interesting to watch for us, to have them that close to each other. So yeah, that's what I think will happen. And of course both of them closely followed by Thomas Ruyant on board of Linked Out. He's also having a good speed, despite the fact that of course he had the problem with his foil, which seems, for now at least, not to hinder him, and he's on the right side of the boat, so the foil that's broken is out of the water right now. So as long as he's on this particular tack, he should be fine, and he's just being very competitive. But he's about like 10 miles higher also latitude-wise than Charlie, so he'll have an even longer bend, and he's about at the same point in the race as Lewis as far as the length of the race goes. So you have to kind of deduct an extra 50 miles for him also. So I think when it's all said and done, he'll probably end somewhere around 100 miles behind both of the other gentlemen. But yeah, it'll be a very interesting lead change. I think there is a chance, small chance, because the distance is very close, but there is a chance that within the next 24, maybe 36 hours, Lewis is going to run away with the number one spot, which will be a perfect twist, because then we have basically two boats to which Francois Gabart, the previous winner, is heavily involved in the lead, and we'll kind of see his old boat and the new boat and the new team and the new skipper that he's heavily involved with in place number 1 and 2. I don't think you could make a better a commercial for skill and design and just his general involvement. So that's very, very cool also. Now I'm curious, of course, to see what you fellow sailing nerds think will happen. So put your 24 to 36 hour prediction in the comments, please, and say, who do you think will end up in place number 1? Let's see how on we as Group Seawolves are here. So that's it for the update today, because I have a very busy afternoon coming up, and that has to do with tomorrow's show, which is going to be really, really cool, because later today I'm interviewing Charlie Enright. You probably know him because he's of course the skipper and boss of 11th Hour Racing, and we're going to talk about their involvement, of course, in the Amaka side of the ocean race, and also the fact that that the 11th Hour Racing team is building a new IMOCA for the race. So right now they have the former Hugo boss that Alex Thompson used to become second in the previous Vendee Globe. That's the 11th Hour Racing boat now, but with completely new foils. So they have much bigger current generation foils on that already. But they're now working on a brand new boat, and Charlie and I are going to have a really nice in-depth conversation. We're going to talk, from design to, the UFOs, the situation with the damages in the Vendee so far, what happened to PRB. It's all going to come across in this interview, so you definitely don't want to miss tomorrow's show. So, put it in the agenda. I expect to see all of you there. We're going to have a really interesting conversation. And that's it for today. So thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with anybody you think is interested. For the VR races, thank you to Simon. We have now a team, Sea Wolves, in the VR race that you can join also. So look on the website, there's a new tab that says VR. Just click on that and you'll see the data and how you can enter the our virtual racing team here in the race. So that's a lot of fun. And if you want to know more or help the channel grow, become a backer, patron, go to seawolvestv.com. We also have lots of cool hoodies and t-shirts and mugs and all this type of cool Sea Wolf stuffs there if you're interested. So that's it for the show today. Thank you all for watching and see you tomorrow.